Hello there, this is Bane. When I'm not out on the streets of Gotham hunting the Batman, I find myself listening to Part-Time Fanboy on a regular basis. Be sure to check out Part-Time Fanboy at www.parttimefanboy.com for somewhat weekly podcasts and reviews about various fanboy-related subjects. Also be sure to like them on Facebook and follow them on the Twitter. Do it now, or I'll have to do something awful to your spine.
Part-Time Fanboy.
Part-Time Fanboy doing my thing.
Oh yeah, doing part-time. Oh yeah, doing part-time. Oh yeah, doing part-time. Oh yeah, doing part-time. PartTimeFanboy.com.
Well, I believe it's just you and me this evening.
Sweet.
Cool. Well,
Hey, before we get started,
yeah.
did you see the new the picture of the new doctor
yes,
and his outfit?
yes.
Yeah, cool.
Did you
huh?
see him? Somebody on Facebook posted him next to
John Pertwee.
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
it was a nice little callback. And dude, I didn't realize that Ben Humphries was on board for the first few episodes.
Ben Humphries being
He's the director of Kill List and A Field in England. He's like one of the hot like indie film directors out of England.
really
Yeah, he makes awesome movies. I mean, I'm like that made me like more excited than anything else because it seems like they're really going to make a concerted effort toward doing something really different this time around.
Yeah, I hope so. It seems like they're gonna go like in a completely different direction, and that has me excited because I watched the first two Sherlocks of season 3. Have you seen those yet?
No, I haven't. Are they on BBC?
They were on PBS.
Oh no,
PBS, yeah.
I haven't watched them yet. I'll see if I can. They re-air them, don't they?
I think so. I'm
Okay.
not quite sure. Maybe they'll have them on their website. I'm not sure. But I mean, not to spoil anything from last season, but the second episode is freaking genius. And if Stephen Moffat could bring a consistent level of writing to, even the first episode of the season, which
Yeah.
I don't find probably one of the best, but the show is going in like a little bit of a different direction, and it just seems like to me if Moffat can bring that sort of, I guess, maturity to the show, it would be awesome. It'd be totally.
I'm sorry,
awesome.
Ben Wheatley's the dude's name.
okay.
The director. Do yourself a favor. Google A Field in England. It's shot in black and white, and like they shot the entire movie in basically this one empty field. Gorgeous looking movie. I mean, this guy's really cool.
When did that come out?
This year.
Oh, really?
In England. It hasn't been released over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But Kill List is the movie that he's really sort of known for. And yeah, he's a really, really solid director.
Cool.
And he's super visually stylish. So I think it'll be cool to see what they do with it.
That's awesome. Cool.
But anyway, we'll save that for our Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Doctor Who ep.
Yeah. Well, before we forget, this is Part-Time Fanboy, and I'm Christian Horn, and I'm here with Paul Edwards.
Hello.
And we are probably just going to chat in general about, well, originally the subject, we had some technical difficulties last week. It was like the perfect storm. My laptop drivers kind of like a bunch of them crashed on me at the same time. And I discovered that my headset died. So me not being able to hear you or speak to you, it was like the drivers and my headset. So
So basically, it was a complete system meltdown.
Yeah, complete meltdown. Which actually, I'm recording back on the old laptop again. I managed to get it up and running, but I did purchase something new. So, but anyway, we were going to talk originally. The way this started out was we were going to talk about the new Powerpuff Girls, or a little bit about that. About animation and our favorite cartoons, which I guess we can still talk about. But I'm very eager to speak to you about all these rumors of Ben Affleck possibly dropping out of Batman Superman.
Are we going off the script? Are we going impromptu tonight?
We're going muy impromptu. Because
nice.
I seem to remember somebody on this very podcast predicting that there would be a story about Ben Affleck getting into a skiing accident and possibly not being able to do the movie. Who could that have been? I don't know.
See, like for me, that was when I heard that, I thought that was you, advocating, like, hey, it'd be nice if you had a skiing accident.
No,
or
that's not
like...
what I said. I said it would be I thought the whole thing was a PR stunt. And that would be the story that would come out that would say, like, oh, he can't do the movie, which they're denying, but they pushed it back a year.
They did push it back a year, which, I mean, that's good because I don't want to see a rushed job.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that doesn't really, like, throw a huge degree of confidence either, because
yeah, me neither.
Marvel's yet to push any of their things back.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, like, there's a lot of people saying, well, first of all, a lot of people are saying that, the reason that they pushed back wasn't because of Ben Affleck's injury. That's the first thing. And I don't want Ben Affleck to be injured, whatever. I'm not wishing harm on anyone. But I think that story of him being hurt is fake as well. Like, I think the whole Ben Affleck as Batman thing was just drummed up to give them, a huge PR boost. You know what I'm saying? And
they need that? Did they need a PR boost, especially,
I don't think they need it, but I think I don't think they need it. You don't think they need it, but I think that the studios work in like really weird ways, and the way that they've just been announcing shit like left and right, and it just seems like they're desperate for PR. Like they're desperate to get people to keep talking about this movie, even though now it's like over like what, a year and a half away, right? I mean, and to me, like all this stuff, like all these announcements, like that Gal Gadot, whatever her name is, for Wonder Woman, and now you've got rumors about like Denzel playing Green Lantern, and and then you've got like rumors about possibly them wanting to put Aquaman, like, and then that it's not just going to be Superman, Batman, it's going to be Justice League. It's going to be Superman, Batman, and then Justice League, and then Gal Gadot has signed on for 3 movies, as Wonder Woman. It seems to me like it's chaos. You know what I'm saying? Like the PR doesn't seem like it's managed. It doesn't seem like they know exactly what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well,
Or
I mean, some of it's a degree of truth. I mean, I would imagine that Gal Gadot would be signed. Is it Gadot or Gadot?
I don't know how to pronounce it.
And I mean, a 3-picture thing, contract isn't out of the norm of things, like that's completely not a problem there.
No.
But it just, I know that they did, bring on a new scriptwriter, as early as in January. They brought on Chris Terrio, who did a great job with Argo's script. I haven't seen the movie, but I did read the script
of Argo.
Yeah.
Oh, you should see it. It's really good.
Yeah. So, that's actually sort of a thing that gives me a little more hope, about it. And, so again, I'd rather they take their time, but again, I'd also rather that they sort of cut all of this other stuff loose and put it into a Justice League movie and just give us a good Man of Steel too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I really wish that they would focus on just giving Superman his own movie. And it's interesting, a story broke today that like, and this sounds ridiculous, that like Henry Cavill was going to get the spit curl back or something. And I'm like, really? And so that to me is like, okay, let's give him the underpants then. You know what I mean?
They're breaking new ground in, hairstyle. That's
I guess it just seems like silly stories are just floating all around like this.
But
this
people are
big
eating it up,
project. They are. They definitely are, or at least the news outlets are.
Yeah, and I think that that certainly speaks well. People do seem sort of legitimately excited about it. But I feel like if this is a PR thing, that could really backfire because there is a point where people sort of get sick about hearing about stuff like this.
Yeah.
And I read a really interesting quote from who was it? It was some indie director, and he was talking about the internet, and they were asking about, it's like, well, it's cool that the internet seems to like me, but like, if the internet hates you, then they fucking hate you.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't get that, and you can't get that back.
Yeah.
That's honestly, if the internet turns on Man of Steel, that's they're courting danger.
Yeah, I mean, I think it, to a certain extent, it already has, but I think there's still a lot of people out there giving it goodwill. You know what I'm saying? And personally, Man of Steel, to me, it's like, I don't need to see another Superman movie unless they were just going to try and rectify everything that was wrong with Man of Steel. But I don't see Zack Snyder, having the ego or the hubris or whatever to be like, okay, like, why don't I make it a little bit more fan friendly? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because I just don't see it. I see them being like, it made $500 million and, Superman, Batman will even make more money at the bank. It could be, it could be them washing windows together. Who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Like, people will come and see it,
So in other words, it would be, like a 1974 Brave and Bold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the sort of thing is, I don't know. I think that it's money in the bank. And I think that there's a part of me that feels that all this PR is desperation because, like, for me, it would almost seem smarter to just go dark. You know what I'm saying? Just go dark and build up the anticipation that way. Because you know how comic and geek fans are. If they're not being, if they're not fed constant information, they start getting anxious. They start getting nervous. You know what I'm saying? And right now, I mean, can you imagine that they would even have like a really decent working script? Because it doesn't seem like to me like enough time has gone by for them to have something really good, right?
I don't know. I mean, I know people who write really well rather quickly, and and then I've got me who I'm a snail when it comes to writing anything. So those things are always sort of hard for me to gauge in terms of how long it takes to make a good thing. And the answer for that is there is no real answer for that. The right person gets a hold of the right idea and gets the right amount of obsession behind it, and they could write a great script. Is that happening? I don't know, and that's fine. And it is for me at least getting to the point where I'm kind of like, okay, I'm kind of done hearing about the casting rumors and stuff like that, and just don't tell me anything more about it. Let's go ahead and go dark, and I'll see you when you premiere your teaser trailer.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? At this point, I'm tired of hearing about it, is what I'm saying, and I think that's your point earlier, which is like this could also backfire on you, where people get tired of hearing about something that hasn't even come out yet, might not even have a script. There was another rumor that Snyder might bail if it gets delayed even more, and, so, I mean, it's just like all this PR for something that is kind of like nebulous right now. It just reeks of a little bit of desperation to me. You know what I mean? Whereas Marvel was like, we've got an Iron Man, the Avengers, it's going to happen eventually. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't seem like they were sweating anything. And it seems to me like Warner's and DC are sweating stuff. But since we were going to talk about animation and we were talking about Man of Steel, Justice League, I should mention that I saw the Justice League War.
Oh yeah, I saw a clip from that tonight. How was that?
Well, Well, it's interesting. I saw it because it's on iTunes already, apparently before the Blu-ray and DVD came out. And this is like apparently a movie that's directly based off Jeff Johns and Jim Lee's like revamping of the Justice League in the DC New 52. And that was horrible. I mean, I think I got the first 4 or 5 issues of that, and I was just like, wow. I mean, Jim Lee's art is spectacular, but it just was like all over the place. So and personally, between you and me, anything that doesn't have Superman in the underpants, I'm just kind of banning. I have no desire to check that out. So I had a friend though that was like, come on, you got to see it. And I was like, no. And he got it on iTunes, brought it over. I was like, all right, you bought it. I'm not paying for it, but we'll watch it. And so we watched it. And how do I put this? Like, there's something, I was not going to buy this thing, you know what I mean? And now I'm thinking, like, yeah, maybe I would buy it used, you know what I mean? If I could find it cheap, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've bought, like, I think almost every single, like, DC animated universe thing for some reason because I just liked DC, you know? I had an affinity for those characters, and
I think they really did a good job with these animated universe things, you know, in lieu of having a solid live action film set. I think that they've done really well with these things.
Yeah. I mean, I think, for me, I think I was more disappointed with the straight to video movies than I was like stuff like Young Justice or Batman Brave and the Bold. And I mean, my daughter and we watch Batman Brave and the Bold on Netflix all the time. She loves it, and I love that. Right. And I think that is like one of the greatest things that DC Warner Brothers has come out with in years, as far as like recruiting younger people to be interested in their books. Because like my daughter knows who Etrigan the Demon is now. Like, what? You know, and she loves Etrigan the Demon, and she was drawing Etrigan, I can't, but this Justice League war, like, I think it would be good if it wasn't the Justice League. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel that...
Like if they were a team styled after them, a la The Authority or something like that?
Yeah, because that's kind of what it seems that they're doing. I guess I just don't get who the audience is for this, because they're kind of all dicks or tools. Like, their personalities are very lame, you know.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman's isn't very fleshed out. You know, she seems like kind of an idiot. You know what I mean? There's a scene where a little girl introduces ice cream to her, which is obviously like meant to be funny, but it kind of comes across like, you know. And Superman is just like a complete prick in it. Like, he's just like he's very aware of his, you know, stature as like the most powerful being on Earth. You know what I mean? He's very much like, I mean, at one point he even says to Batman like something like really, you don't have any powers? Like, you're like, what can you do to me? Like, nothing.
Apparently that's like the running gag, because the scene I saw was the Green Lantern interrogating him about the no powers, and then, you know, Batman lifts his ring.
Yeah. Which is clever. But, you know, there's just a part of me that is very disappointed in, and, you know, spoilers, you know, Superman kills somebody in this movie too. And it's just like, now granted, it's somebody that tried to kill him, but it's like, so this is where we're going with this now, you know, and this thing's not for kids. So it's for grown-ups, but it's not really like a thoughtful script. It's not really.
No. Well, it's not, because it's like you just keep giving Superman the easy way out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's a big slugfest for like an hour and a half. They just fight. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, they have Darkseid in it, which is their character. Well, there's no characterization of Darkseid. He's just kind of Darkseid. I mean, I don't know. I suppose there's only so much you could fit in an hour and 20 minutes, but it's been my problem with a lot of these straight-to-video, like DC movies, where there's not enough breathing room to sort of get to know the characters more. But in this one, it was like, I like the action. I like the look of it. I think it's really good. I think a lot of people who are sort of like dabbling in comic books or not like diehard fans of comic books or who are modern day comic books, like all they know is the modern stuff that's kind of like gritty and trying to be grown up, will like it. But somebody like me who's like a traditionalist and that these characters actually stand for things other than the fact that I'm the strongest, I'm the dopiest, I'm the fastest, I was kind of disappointed. Although at the same time, being a fan of animation and the characters, I kind of liked it. There was something that I liked about it. It's not god awful, is what I should say. You know what I mean?
They should put that on the cover.
It's
a rousing review there. Not god awful.
Not god awful. Well, that's the other thing too. Is what I kept thinking when I was watching it. You know how we talked in the last podcast about Image Comics and when Image Comics first came out and they were kind of like juvenile. It was like hit, punch. Big tits. Like this is what it is. Speed lines. Blah blah blah. It seems to me like that's what DC is doing to their characters. They're like imagifying them, not a word.
Yeah.
And they're using the Jim Lee designs for the characters, and they're kind of like, isn't this cool? And to me, it's like, well,
the answer is meh.
Yeah, that's been done. Like, you didn't do anything like really special or out of the box or really wild. You kept Green Lantern the same, you kept Batman the same. And then, you changed other people, but you kind of made it worse. Like they're just jerks,
Interesting idea there. The idea of like taking it and making it a special event. You know what I mean? As opposed to just product that you're moving forward, which I think is probably a lot of people's, issue with the, just a lot of this stuff in general, like that it's just doesn't seem like it's special,
Yeah.
And I think that was always like the at least for me, the draw of like comics or a cartoon or whatever was that it did feel special. It was something that spoke to you,
Yeah.
And whereas this one doesn't necessarily feel like they're trying to speak to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just think some of the design of Wonder Woman's costume, it's just, I don't know. It's the ones that I've been impressed by the most are like the Wonder Woman straight to DVD one. That was really fantastic. I like
the one with Nathan Fillion as
Steve Trevor.
Steve Trevor. Yeah, I like
that was one of the better ones, and I really liked Batman Red Hood.
Yeah,
that was excellent. And the last one, Flashpoint, I thought was really well done. I mean, I didn't read that miniseries or get caught up in the event, but I thought those were some really solid outings. And, the ones that they've done with Superman have just been horrible. Like the past 2 or 3, they've just been not great at all. Especially this last one had to do with the storyline that Jeff Johns did with Brain. I sense a pattern, Jeff Johns, who I think is a really great comic writer.
I agree.
But I don't know. It seems like when they translate them to animation, they kind of take the lowest common denominator. I don't know. But those are my thoughts. I mean, I would check it out, if you're interested in that sort of thing, Paul.
Yeah, maybe. There's so many other good, interesting things out there right now that are vying for my attention that I can't really jump to that right away. I don't know. Do you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D?
I do watch. Yeah. I still have been watching it. And...
Yeah, I feel like it's picked up quite a bit. Like that's the nice thing is that with any TV series, you get like a little you sort of have a period in the first season after the pilot, where you're sort of finding your way.
It's been pretty rough. It
has been rough. I agree, but not, I would say not rougher than, most other network, shows. With the exception maybe like Person of Interest. Person of Interest is a solidly written show. You'll like it. I think it's got a formula, but they do some really cool things with the formula because essentially, I mean, the thing with Person of Interest is basically you've got Jim Caviezel basically being Batman without the costume.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before.
Yeah, and he's just, he's this ex-military guy who gets this intelligence from the thing, from this computer system, and he just goes and fixes problems.
Yeah.
So that's a good show. But as far as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like they're finally bringing the supers to the show, which I'm happy about.
Do you think that's like a recipe of success for that show, though?
No, not a recipe for success, but I think it is a good place for them to experiment with some of like the, third or fourth tier Marvel characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To see sort of what works and what doesn't work. I'm excited about them, bringing Deathlock in because I think that's a cool character, and I think J. August Richards will be a great dude to do it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I had a lot of faith in the show in the beginning, and I've been sticking with it. I mean, I've been watching it.
Yeah.
There's a lot that I like about it. Like I like some of the characters, and I kind of like where it seems like it's trying to go, which is a little edgier and riskier, but then it almost kind of doesn't quite get there for me. And I don't know. I kind of wish that what they had done with that show had been like to take Agent Coulson and give him a different team or a different mission, like on every like 5 episodes. You know what I'm saying? Like
I know what you
like
mean.
an arc, and that would make like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like it was an anthology with maybe Coulson as like the figurehead. You know what I'm saying? As like the guy in the middle, because I think part of what disappointed me a bit about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the fact that Coulson was alive when that was such a powerful moment in the Avengers movie and for the fans. And then to me, it was just like where the cinematic universe was kind of doing its own thing in a way. Now it was like, death isn't really real. Yeah, it can, I mean, it kind of takes away the gravity of that universe. You know what I'm saying? For me.
So yeah, it brings it into the comic book universe. You know what I mean?
Which is fine.
And I feel in a way I don't tend to lump it in necessarily with the cinematic universe, even though it's like, God, you have to fight the nerdism, desire to have it all tie together, man, and have it like fit into continuity and stuff like that. But because like it's, I mean, we had that little Facebook discussion about Bucky Barnes being on
that was lame.
Being on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wall,
like that she would just pick that name out and be like, oh, Bucky Barnes, and like say it to herself. I just thought that was a really forced moment, you know.
But they did that the short the Agent Carter short, and so clearly they are tying the beginning of S.H.I.E.L.D. back into those guys.
I guess so.
It would, and these are they gotta bring it in to tie in the Winter Soldier coming up, but at the same time, it's kind of a fun little throw in. And now what'll be interesting too is like, once Winter Soldier rolls around, is that going to affect the show or not? You know? Because I'm so excited about Winter Soldier.
I'm so psyched. And the fact that Ed Brubaker like says that it's the best Marvel movie they've ever made, which I'm like, well, Brubaker's got some serious skin in the game, but for him to say that, I don't see him, like interviews I've heard of him, and I've met him at a signing or two once. He's not
really given to hyperbole.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a type of guy that's going to, be like, blow smoke up your ass. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there was a point where I almost dropped it. I almost pulled an Angel where I was like, I'm just going to stop watching and then I'll come back to it like beginning of season 2 and see what's changed. You know what I mean? Or maybe watch some reruns over the summer. But for some reason, I can't make myself do it. Like I'm just hooked in. It's the same thing with like the DC animated stuff. It's like I gotta watch it, and I'm like a 41-year-old man, dude. Like I should be able to, It's like an addiction. It really is. It's like this stuff is like hard coded into my DNA. So I don't know, but
I say don't fight it.
I'm not gonna fight it. I'm not. Since we're talking about superhero shows, and I do want to talk a little bit about the Powerpuff Girls because
Yeah, let's do it. That's a superhero show.
Yeah. But I want to talk about Arrow first because
Okay, cool.
you did it. Like you got me involved in it, and I stuck with it. And now I'm at the point where, like, have you watched the last episode?
Oh yeah.
Like, I really like it now. Like, I'm like, wow. I mean, I still think they need to kill the sister. I can't stand her. Like that.
Oh, no Speedy?
Yeah, no Speedy. They need to get rid of her really quickly. But the way things are going, like the new
well, the fact that they brought in Deathstroke.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. That outfit looks badass.
Yeah, they really see, that's a nice thing is that they really like learned a lesson from Smallville, I think, because it's the same network.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's a completely different style of costuming and everything, because everything, with the costuming is very it's superhero-y, but it's also really practical. It's not something that like like I guess sort of the Lee Field school of it, just to look cool that they throw stuff on it or anything.
Yeah.
It's all super practical stuff for the most part. Even and the fact that they've given him a mask now, that's
finally.
Such a great. Yeah, and I love the fact that it took them so long to do that in a way. It's like they've really sort of just embraced the comic book nature of things, and they're moving, and they've made the move up to having superpowers on the show now too.
Yeah,
and it's interesting too. I mean, if you look at, I think they're two interesting shows to compare, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Arrow, because you see, and even going back to Smallville, it's like they're sort of ashamed of the superpower aspect of it for the first few episodes, but then they realize this is the best part about it. Arrow's got some goofy bits in a way. I mean, there's definitely some storylines that don't work as well as others.
Sure.
But one of the cool things about it, and I got this from an IO9 article about it too, is that if you look at each sort of running storyline on Arrow, you've got 4 different sort of types of stories. You've got like a straightforward superhero investigation going here, and then you've got sort of a origin story running over here, and then you've got the flashback to the island stuff, which is a completely different like style of stuff. So it really kind of almost has something for everybody.
Yeah.
And they're cutting away so quickly from each kind of storyline to the other that even if one of them's not like, firing on all cylinders, the others are strong enough that, that it makes it worthwhile.
Yeah. I mean, I got to say, and we've probably talked about it on the podcast in the past where I very much did not like that show when it first started. Like, I saw the pilot and I was like, okay, this is interesting. And it seemed like what it was doing was veering towards the soap opera aspect of everything, which is like, this is a CW show and we're going to take the beautiful people and, who loves who, and does Oliver miss me, and he slept with my sister, and they were getting really wrapped up in the beginning. And then somewhere along in the first season, somebody realized, was like, dude, this is not the way we need to go. You know what I'm saying? And then by the time they got to the second season, it seems like they fully embraced like the action, and I think they might have gotten maybe a slightly larger budget, because it seems like the action sequences are much better. Like the editing is much tighter, to the point of where it's like, when there's like some action oriented scenes, I mean, I'm not going to say like this is Bruce Willis Die Hard, you know what I'm saying?
No, but for TV, it is really good looking stuff.
Absolutely.
All the motorcycle stuff that they brought in this season is fabulous. Whoever's their stunt writer for that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And of course, the actors, man, they have really good actors.
They have some pretty good actors, yeah.
Manu Bennett, who plays Deathstroke, is he was the
Spartacus.
Spartacus, exactly, and
Yeah.
also on Lord of the Rings. You know, he's the and the Hobbit movies. He did a lot of the orc stuff, the chief orc.
Oh,
You know,
really? I did
yeah,
not know that.
that was him.
He's
And
great. He was fantastic in
you know,
Spartacus.
he's a really cool physical actor. You know, he's not afraid to to be sort of in a way melodramatic. You know,
Uh-huh.
but he sells it. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and you know you've got
And he's got the physique, man. He looks like a superhero.
yeah,
Like you would not want to mess with that guy.
he's marvelous. The kid who plays Roy Harper is perfect, like little he's what I
Yeah,
always
he's a
thought Roy.
little too modelly looking. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's kind of what I always thought Roy would be. Roy is like
The
the
hothead.
sort of hot-headed,
Yeah, yeah.
guy.
He's grown on me. He's grown
Yeah,
on
he
me.
does well, and of course, like the big fan favorite, and I think she's fantastic is the girl who plays Felicity Smoke.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
she's great. She takes the sort of IT nerd character and manages to become sort of the indispensable part of the team.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
the show. I mean, I think if she left, she's almost like the heart of the whole thing, to tell you the honest truth.
yeah, because she's the one who really believes in Oliver Queen.
Yeah.
Way more than Laurel Lance.
Yeah, yeah.
Funny
Oh,
enough.
absolutely.
Uh, uh, but they've done a really good job of sort of turning expectations on its head. Because you thought that they were setting Laurel up to be Black Canary, and it turns out it's the sister.
Yeah, yeah. Which I'm
And
disappointed in the casting of the sister. I think Black Canary should have been much more attractive, in my opinion. I think I don't know, and I think she's got this mousy voice, and I don't really buy her when she's on the island. She's kind of one of the weak links for me. Like I'm like, we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
but
She's a
yeah,
disappointment.
they really lucked out getting Stephen Amell for
Yeah,
Queen though, because
didn't they?
he manages to keep it from being a Batman clone. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He's got a real sense of humor, a real dry sense of humor
Yeah.
that comes across, really well. He does the driven thing, really well too. He's a solid, like sort of a, you know, he manages to be the lead at all times in the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because in the beginning of the show, you would see him working out and he's totally ripped and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of was like, oh, just, another one of these CW sort of pretty boys. But he definitely developed some presence and he definitely knows how to, like, quietly command, like, a scene that he's in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, your eyes are definitely on him when he's on camera, and he has a certain amount of like sort of unpredictability as to what you just don't know like exactly which way he's gonna go or what he's gonna do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's really cool for a show that really is sort of an origin show.
Yeah.
For the most, and for the most part, people I don't think, cared who Green Arrow was.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
before
absolutely.
this show. And I think that it's cool because he really is sort of he is growing into it, and he's not consistent, in a way as a character because he's still figuring out who he is.
Yeah.
And the show lets him do that. The way it's written, it lets him do that. So they've got, I think they've got really solid writing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, I have to say that when I kind of became sort of like really impressed with him was when they would go back on the island and he wasn't supposed to be the tough guy. And I mean, I'm not talking like this isn't like an orphan black, like the actress on that show who is just like an amazing chameleon. But there was enough of like the sort of like frat boy out of my element on the island where I was like, oh, this is interesting. He's kind of able to pull it off. I mean,
Yeah, he is. I actually noticed in the last couple of episodes, he actually raises his voice a little bit. His voice when he's on the island is a little higher than it is when he's off the island. And then, and then of course when he's got the Green Arrow voice, they do the electronic manipulation, which is fantastic because it gives you that, that edge without him always having to do the Dark Knight voice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I think in a way they really sort of like took the Christopher Nolan movies and figured out the stuff that worked,
Yeah.
and the stuff that would really come across on television,
Yeah.
and they got rid of a lot of the things that just wouldn't work.
Yeah, well, Ra's al Ghul, man, like he's
Yeah.
part of the show. Like that's crazy. I mean yeah, I mean they've definitely brought in like what's his name, Deadshot. Like I was a little bit like some of the earlier villains. I was like, but like you said, I think they're sort of starting to embrace the more fantastical elements. And while they're not going like crazy, like putting everyone in costumes and stuff like that, they're doing enough with them that they're able to keep the show like having an edge and sort of not slipping into the completely ridiculousness of former superhero TV shows. You know what I'm saying? I just hope that it keeps going that way, because to me, like, I'm almost sensing a mandate where it's like, you guys got to step up your game, because I think something's going on at Warner Brothers. My theory.
Oh no, what's your theory?
No, my theory is that they're going to, him and the Flash will show up in whatever Justice League movie that they do, like whether the show's going on or not.
Which would be honestly awesome, because the kid who they've got for the Flash,
I agree,
is marvelous.
I was going to bring that up. Like, it's interesting because when he first showed up, I was like, he looks really young. But what I like about him is I really love the stuff that they brought from the comics, which is like, that Barry Allen. Yes, I know, I agree with you. That Barry Allen, is always late to everything. He kind of trips over his own feet. He's clumsy, and they brought all that stuff, and he has the shyness. But what I liked was that he wasn't like buffed or ripped. You know what I'm saying? It looks like he's going to have what I always wanted out of like a Flash live action, which is like he'll have like a runner's body. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not going to be like completely like buff and ripped, and like he's going to look like somebody that needs to be agile and fast. You know what I mean?
And somebody who is like thinking too, like making him sort of the I think it's a great idea, because making him a CSI turns him into a detective. Which a lot of the best Flash stories sort of were involved around, him figuring out a problem, being fast, mentally as well as physically. And I love that little origin thing that they set up, man. They did the lightning and the chemicals. You know?
And you saw him smash into the bookshelf, and the chemicals all spilled on. Like, I thought that was a really nice touch. And I mean, that little origin sequence was terrific, because it kind of added something new, but kept the ridiculousness of his original origin, which is what we all love. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't try and make it realistic or whatever. They did well. I'm into it. Like, especially now that Laurel is like a pill addict, like a junkie, and everyone's kind of turned their back on her. I was like, I did not see that coming at all. Like, that was like a twist that I was like, oh, okay. This like sweet little squeaky clean character, she's kind of getting thrown out, on her bum. You know what I mean? So that's awesome. Cool. Well, before we forget, I definitely want to talk a little bit about this Powerpuff Girls special that, kind of was going to bring this whole episode together, because I know we were going to talk about some of our favorite cartoons growing up, but I guess that's going to have to wait for another episode. But Barry couldn't join us. He was the one who was like, oh, I totally want a podcast about the, Powerpuff Girls special. But he got wrapped up in his work and stuff like that. And, what can you do? It's part-time fanboy. I mean, I was thinking about it too when I found out that there was going to be a new special. Well, I've known about it for a while, but, you never really watched the Powerpuff Girls, or you weren't into it?
No, I wasn't really into it. I've seen a few episodes, and, being a teacher, of course, you find out about this. You find out more than you ever want to know about any children's cartoon or show. That So yeah, and I'm familiar with the concept of the professor creating the Powerpuff Girls who fight the evil monkey. And everything.
It's funny because like that show I think was one of the first sort of like Cartoon Network shows that kind of made people sit up and go, like when Cartoon Network began really producing its own content, where people kind of sat up and went like, what is that? Like, that's different. It's original. Oh, they're superheroes, but they're girls. And the look of it was so unique and different. It's kind of simplistic. I mean, it kind of called back to like the Bullwinkle, like Jay Ward sort of cartoons a little bit, in my opinion. But, or there was a style of art that seemed like very retro. But it was definitely something that kind of like came onto the scene and was like, what is this? And kind of was like a big hit, like almost out of the gate, and it was created by Craig McCracken and I guess Getty Taratovsky, or I may be pronouncing that wrong. He worked on it as well, and the guy who created Samurai Jack and gosh, tons of other stuff,
who did that amazing first series of Star Wars
cartoons. That's right. Yeah, the Clone Wars, Symbionic Titan, which I guess only lasted a season, but was a really fun adventure show on Cartoon Network a couple of years ago. So you had like these really talented people, just bursting out of the, box and sort of being given free reign, to do whatever they wanted almost, within limits. I mean, it was sort of, it had to play to kids, I guess, a little bit, but it, there were definitely episodes where you kind of like cocked an eyebrow and were like, what? Sort of like the best cartoons, like Bugs Bunny or Tom and Jerry, those old Looney Tunes. So, I mean, I'm a fan. I've got the whole series box set. I've got all the maquettes from the Powerpuff Girls, like Mojo Jojo and, Bubbles, Buttercup, and Blossom. I've got them sitting on my shelf, which maybe people consider odd for a man of my age, but I think it's just, it was a quality show. So I was a big fan, watched it for years and have introduced it to my daughter, who thinks they're hysterical. As a matter of fact, the weekend before the special, this new special, I guess it was like, was it a 20-year anniversary special or a 15-year anniversary? I think it might have been a 20-year, maybe 15, probably 15. 15-year anniversary. And, we fired them up, and she hadn't really watched them before. And I wanted to watch them for reference. And she just laughed hysterically during the whole thing. Like, she loved it. And we were just like sitting, like when you have a kid, part of the fun is like, it's not even watching the thing that you're watching. It's watching your kid watch the thing that you're watching. You know what I mean? Seeing what they get out of it, and what they're enjoying. And so she just thought it was funny. And, it took me back a little bit because when those were on, it was on cable and I didn't have cable. So whenever I went over somebody's house that had cable, or hung out, we were lucky, I would see if I could find it and put it on, the era before DVR and the internet and stuff like that. So I was a big fan. So
ancient days
when I was a youngin'. But so this special, like when I saw the some of the artwork that was coming out, I was very like, what the fuck is that? Because I mean, they definitely changed things. They definitely changed it up. Changed the look a little bit. And then, long story short, too late, I was very disappointed in the special. I thought it was not very attractive to look at, just because you've got a different sort of technology, which I think they were using like Maya or CG on this. Doesn't mean that you should use it. And I just felt like mostly it was the look of the show. Like I thought some of the writing was really funny. I enjoyed some of the jokes and stuff. But I just feel like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they tried to fix something that they didn't need to fix. So it's interesting. I did chat with Barry via email a little bit about it. And I think one of his comments was that I guess in one sequence they have a temper tantrum in a supermarket, and it just like causes like havoc and stuff. And he was like, no, the Powerpuff Girls are supposed to be good girls. They're not supposed to be. And I was like, no, I seem to remember an episode or two where, maybe one of them would be behaving like a brat and they had to be disciplined. So I don't know how far that, criticism goes, because they are supposed to be like little girls from kindergarten, and they're not necessarily perfect. But
right.
All in all, I found the whole thing like to be like a huge disappointment. I just I don't know if they're going forward with the series that looks like this, but I would please beg them not to, because I think that a lot of the elements from the old show are there, but it's just the look of it is just, the colors they blend too much. Like the characters blend too much with the background. They're too busy.
Okay.
It's just so much in the backgrounds, and the colors are very bright and loud, and then you've got other colors which are kind of dull, and it's just like instead of circles or curves which are smooth and pleasant to the eye, now it's like the circles are like they still have the circular heads, but it's sort of like somebody using a pen tool like in Photoshop who doesn't know how to adjust the curves and is trying to make a circle. So it's like angle. You know what I'm saying? Trying to make a circle.
Well, it's sort of like the reaction I had when I saw the Lego version of The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff, because it's like, wow, it's cool. It's The Simpsons, but like the houses like are all straight lines and everything. And like when you watch The Simpsons, there aren't really straight lines. They're all curved and very, cartoony. And seeing those things in, with these like right angles and straight lines, it's really weird. I know what you mean by that.
Yeah, I just feel like, I don't know. So, I mean, obviously these people are professionals, and obviously these, they know what they're doing. I mean, I'm not working in animation. I'm not, creating comic books and stuff like that. But there's definitely a part of me that just like, I was just like, this is not good enough. There was potential there, but mostly the visuals were like not there for me. And what's interesting to me is that my daughter did not laugh once. Okay.
Huh.
Usually watching a Powerpuff Girls episode, she's laughing during the whole thing. Didn't laugh once. And then the other thing, the afternoon that we watched the special, because we get the East Coast feed here, she had nightmares about it. So that will show you like how possibly strange looking or strange appearing the whole thing was, because I do think there's an aesthetic to the original show where, as I was saying, there's a lot of curves, there's a lot of round circles, there's a lot of smoothness to the way everything moves. And in this one, it was very, obnoxious colors. Some of them were muted, and the foreground would blend into the background where, you kind of had a hard time looking at it. And it just visually, it was kind of a mess. And that was the worst thing for me. If they could go back somewhat to the original designs, I mean, then that would be great. I mean, and I don't think I'm saying this because, honestly, I love the Powerpuff Girls. I'm a fan. And I think, like I said, my daughter loves them. But
I don't think that they would want to put Gives Little Girls Nightmares on the cover of
I don't think so. I mean, we're talking somebody who's just 7, about to turn 7, and she had nightmares that night, and we asked her what was the nightmare about? The Powerpuff Girls, and I was like, whoa, talk about a strange reaction. So I mean, again, I'm not like as much a fan of the Powerpuff Girls. I don't get my panties in a bunch, for lack of a better term, over like changes to the Powerpuff Girls as I would like, say, taking away Superman's underpants. There's a lot of underwear talk in what I'm saying right now.
You got to have a line. You got to draw a line.
But yeah, I mean, there's the classics, and the classics work really well for a reason. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it was the #1 rated show on Cartoon Network for years, or in like the top 10 or whatever, for a reason. You know?
Oh, dude, my kids used to love it. You know, the girls would pretend to be the little girls, and they would run around and fight about who got to be Buttercup.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Powerpuff Girls, have you seen that controversy that kind of broke online? I guess IDW does Powerpuff Girls comics, and I guess Cartoon Network and IDW, they commissioned a female artist to do sort of like it's a beautiful illustration, but I guess it puts them in their teens, and they have sort of
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
It's Mimi Yoon.
Yeah. And I guess a retailer, don't know his name off, kind of got, pissed off and was like, you're sexualizing, these girls that are, they're kindergartners. And
Dennis Barger Jr.
Is that who it is?
Co-owner of Wonderland Comics in Detroit.
Oh, well, I guess he made a big stink, and a lot of people agreed with him. And looking at that image, I can see his point. I mean, but I don't think that they're supposed to be kindergartners in that picture. That's the first thing. But the second thing is also, like, they don't look like grown-up women either. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, they're androids, aren't they?
No, they're not. They're like sort of they're clones. They're sort of like test tube babies sort of thing. They never really specify.
Who's to know what they're going to turn into?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, that image that you're looking at, I mean, it sort of does objectify, like, teenage girls. I mean, I'm not going to say that the guy is wrong, but it
makes them look like sort of a more anime version of the Spice Girls.
Yeah. Well, you've got sort of the thigh-high stockings and stuff like that. I can see how somebody would have, I kind of looked at it and I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. That is kind of messed up, but I guess the artist, she fired back today, like on Facebook, and was like, I was asked to make this thing, and if you see sex in it, that's your problem. You're the perverted one. And then I guess she found pictures online of that retailer, like at a strip club. Like a bunch of strippers. So it's like, oh my God, wow, that's a good way to fight back. Brilliant, turning around on him. But I don't think you should be taking the Powerpuff Girls and kind of doing that with them. I think it's a little bit in poor taste, but it's an interesting controversy that kind of sprung up over the last week. So I don't know. Any other thoughts for this week, Paul, or anything else you want to mention, or?
Dude, that's really interesting. I see that they pulled the cover.
Yeah, they pulled it
as well. So I've got new respect for Mimi Yoon then, because I didn't really know who she was before this.
Me neither.
But that does seem like a really a good way to handle it. And honestly, if you look at all of her stuff, it's well within her style.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, absolutely.
When they commissioned it from her, they knew what they were getting.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
So whatevs.
I know.
Well, that's an interesting thing as to what becomes controversy.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting because I think in her response, she also said, like, look, you made this big deal out of this cover, and so a lot of people probably wouldn't have even known it existed, and now you've made it into this thing on the internet that everyone's going to be looking for forever. You know what I mean? And try and find. And when they talk about Powerpuff Girls, this will be one of the things that came up. So you kind of just like made a big issue out of something that would have been nothing and just disappeared. So it's interesting. So, yeah, I mean, many controversies about the Powerpuff Girls. I'm just hoping that, if they do a new series, they don't go with the ugly new look of the last special. Just go with the classics, so, or just leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't make anything new. It's done.
Try something different.
Try something different, you know. I will say that the one thing that I got out of the special, because I haven't really been paying attention to Cartoon Network for years because I've been busy with my own kid trying to, you know, Sesame Street and Disney stuff and whatever, you know. But it did introduce me, seeing some of the commercials. I was like, wow, that looks like an interesting show. Wow, that looks like an interesting show. So seeing animation that I haven't been exposed to in a long time. So it looks like Cartoon Network is still doing a lot of really goofy, fun stuff. So yeah, cool. All right, well, this has been another episode of Part-Time Fanboy. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kristian Horn, and I'm with Paul Edwards. And please check out our website at www.parttimefanboy.com. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And, you know, just drop us an email or thanks for listening. Or, check out our YouTube channel, too.
Or a box of chocolates YouTube. Or something.
Valentine's Day is coming. That's true. Well, thanks for listening. And hopefully we will be here within a week or so with another episode. Are we going to do the Ribose operation, Paul?
Yeah, I'm planning on watching it at some point.
Yeah, I've started. So cool. Awesome. So I think hopefully next week we will go over some old school Doctor Who goodness. All right. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Part-Time Fanboy.
Part-time fanboy doing my thing.
Doing part-time. Doing part-time. Doing part-time. Doing part-time.